So it's Scala and it's Friday morning, so it's confession time. And into our collective, Judge Jodie.
Hello.
Steps in just before she takes your phone calls around about 11:30.
Exactly.
For all the calls. Judge Jack is here.
Morning.
Stepping in. And Rick Radio is here. Now, Rick is a management cheese, as you might have noticed. So I want to pitch this idea for you because I know you're in a good mood.
Yeah, I'm in a very good mood actually.
Because your team is in the Thursday night final.
We're in the European Cup final, yes. A European
What's it
Cup
called?
final.
Oh, a European Cup final. Now, Sam, who does the show after me,
yes,
as you know, between 1 and 4, is a Liverpool fan.
Yes.
So, on June the 1st,
yep,
which is a Saturday, why don't you say to Sam and me, why don't you go to Madrid to sort of aid the coverage of the Champions League final, which is a Spurs-Liverpool match, as you know. What do you, as a general idea, what do you think?
As a general idea, good. I think maybe a better way to do this would maybe send you and Sam to maybe a shopping centre in Liverpool so you can broadcast live.
Okay, so we're moving on now with the city confession.
Just an idea.
The sound of cost-cutting.
Good shop, actually.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that's a good idea. Anyway, maybe you can mention that to Mark Forrest and Charles Nove. So here's today's confession. It comes from Emma. Thank you, Emma. Simon, I'm writing to tell you about something that happened 16 years ago, and it's haunted me ever since, and even made me question my suitability as a parent.
Oh, dear.
It was the summer of 2003, and I was pregnant with my 4th child. My 2 oldest children were at school and nursery school, respectively, and my toddler, George, not his real name, was at home with me. We had just moved house and I was feeling a bit overwhelmed, what with the move, being pregnant and uncomfortable, and I had so much to do with all the unpacking, etc. George was bored watching me unpack boxes and was getting grouchy, so in a bid to be a good mum, I left the unpacking and took him for a walk in the woods nearby. As we moved to a new area, this was a new walk and I wasn't really familiar with it. But we left the house in good spirits, and I waddled down the road holding his little squidgy hand. And we had a lovely time, picking up leaves, paddling in the stream, looking at butterflies, and I felt very proud of myself for being such a good mum. However, when we arrived back at our new home, I realised to my horror that I had locked myself out. Forgetfulness and pregnancy do go hand in hand. Not only that, the car keys were also in the house, and I had to pick up my other son from nursery. It was a new nursery, so I hadn't yet made any friends and had no one I could call on. I had no money on me, and I couldn't walk to the nursery as I would have been late. In panic and desperation, I walked around the side of the house, hoping I'd left a window open. Not that I could have climbed through a window in my pregnant state. It was then that I noticed there was a cat flap in the back door.
Oh, no.
We didn't own a cat, but obviously the previous owners had done. On assessing the size of the cat flap, I calculated that George would in fact be able to squeeze through and get my keys. George, you remember, is my toddler. I quickly explained to him what I wanted him to do, and he willingly started to climb through the flap.
He's very obedient.
After a few seconds, he changed his mind, and he said he didn't want to do it, but with some gentle encouragement from me, his loving, caring mother, a little bit of push.
Poor George.
He persevered, and eventually, after a long time, he made it through to the other side. I told him where the keys were, and he proudly passed them to me through the flap. On letting myself in, I covered him in hugs and kisses, told him how proud I was of him, and even gave him a Chubba Chubba lolly, sugar-free, as a reward. He recovered quickly from his ordeal, and other than the ears and the side of his face being a bit pink, he was completely fine. And together we went to get his brother from nursery. As the day went on, I began to feel quite bad about what I'd done, putting my child through the cat flap. So I rang my sister to confess in the hope that she would make me feel better. "You did what?" she said, making me feel a million times worse. She didn't hold back, and by the time my husband got in from work, I was an emotional wreck, and I told him I was considering handing myself in to the authorities. He managed to calm me down, but to this day I haven't told another soul about what I did that day. Can you please forgive me, as this has haunted me for long enough? George has just celebrated his 18th birthday and is a handsome, strapping lad whose ears aren't pink anymore. Anyway, he's just about to sit his A-levels. He does remember climbing through the cat flap and thinks it's very funny, although whenever it's mentioned, he does say, I can't believe you made me do that. But I think he does it just to make me feel bad. Yours, hopefully, Emma, not my real name. Well, cat flap confessions are usually very, very entertaining, and this is why I particularly like this one, Emma. Thank you very much indeed. But the idea of, I'm completely stuck, I know my small child, if he holds his breath and I push him slightly, maybe will squeeze through to the other side. And it worked. So, Emma, top mum, let's see how it goes down in the studio here with Judge Jodie.
I think, Emma, you were trying to be a good mum. You're juggling so many things at once, and I feel for you. And, you know, George going through the cat flap is probably a very... it's character building, you know? He probably looks back on that and thinks, wow, I did that. And it's he's obviously very clever, and so, yeah, I forgive you.
That's why I have small ears.
Character building.
George Goes Through the Cat Flap is actually going to be the name of my next book. I just decided that could be a new tale. Judge Jack.
Well, Emma, I mean, I think just in terms of vocabulary, I was very impressed. Some of my favourite words, waddle and squidgy. They're such wonderful words. They're just great to say. So, to be honest with you, I think just for the way the story was written, I can forgive that. And good luck to George for the A-levels as well.
Yes, absolutely. Rick Radio here in a good mood, so he's got a cheery disposition.
I've always got a skip in me step, and I've got to say that that was excellent first-class parenting, and a real bond was created between the mother and the son, and it kind of made me think there was a generation of parents that grew up and their kids were called latchkey kids.
Yes.
And this is a new generation of cat flap kids.
The cat flap kid.
The cat flap kids.
George and the Cat Flap Kids, that's my next book. That's going to be the follow-up to George Goes Through the Cat Flap.
Oh, my gosh.
This is great.
Where does he go? Or is it too early to say?
Way too early to say. I'm not like the Ernie Wise of book production. I can't just knock it off before I finish the
It's a
programme.
blast from the past.
Yeah, it's one for the kids. Okay, if you want to comment on that, the text is 64100 and the first word is Scala. Thank you.